You're listening to A Slice of Therapy with me, Alun Parry. When I was a child in junior school, so when I was about 10, one of the preoccupations that me and my friends used to have is to discuss who would play us in the movie of our lives. You see, when we were 10, we had these big ambitions as 10-year-olds do. And so it didn't seem completely impossible that someone would play us in a movie all about our lives. And so we'd discuss which actor would play us. And we'd joke about it and tease each other about it. And the funny thing is, now I'm older, one of the things that I realise is that actually we were asking the wrong question. The question wasn't so much about who would play us in a movie of our lives, but how they would play us. And the answer to that question actually gives us a lot of pointers in terms of how we can actually change our own lives moving forward. Now, if the actor themselves isn't important, what is important is how they play us. So let me explain. If there were a movie of your life, then what the movie would probably focus upon is some element of struggle that you eventually end up overcoming. And one of the most simple ways of deciding what the movie might be about is maybe to look at the struggle that you're currently undergoing. At any point in our lives, there's something that we'd like to be a little different. There's something that we are struggling with. And so if you take that as the starting point, let's say that there's a movie of your life, but it's going to focus in on the struggle that you're currently engaged in. How would the lead actor who's playing you decide to play you? So let's imagine that they come to see you and they say, look, I'm playing you in this movie, but I need to be able to be you in these early scenes where you are as you are now. Like, what are the things that I need to believe about myself when I'm playing you? As I enter a scene, for instance, let's say the director puts me in a scene and I have to just be you as you would be in that scene. Tell me, how should I act? What should I think about myself? How should I relate to others? What are the things and ways that I would behave and think and believe and act, which is going to really capture how you would be in the exact same scene? Because when you're asked that question, what you're able to do then is to start teaching this actor how to be you. Like, what's the mindset that you would have in a particular scene that expresses the struggle that you're in now? So let's give an example. One of the things I often used to struggle with was a sense where I would often put myself second, that I would hold back from putting myself forward, that I would brush off a compliment. And so if I, from that point of view, was going to tell an actor how to play me in a situation, these are the things that I would tell them. I would say, look, if someone gives you a compliment, you have to just brush it off. If there's an opportunity that comes forward, put your head down. Don't push yourself forward for it. If there's a situation where it's between you or somebody else in terms of the most self-caring thing would be to look after yourself. Don't do it, even though that seems to make the most sense. These might have been the things that I would tell my actor how to be me from that standpoint, going back some years. And so that's an example of how you can actually teach this actor to be you in these early scenes of the movie where it establishes who you are now and how you are in the world now. The early scenes that really express the struggle that you're in at the start of the movie, the struggle that you're in right now. So if your lead actor did come to you and say, listen, help me out here, help me be you in these scenes, tell me how to think and be and act and interact with other people, what is it that you would tell them? Because like I say, it's not who plays you that's going to be important, but how they play you. What would you tell them to do in order to most accurately portray you in the struggle that you have at the moment, that this movie is all about? Now, the reason why it's really helpful to come up with that list of advice to this actor is because the whole point of the movie is that by the end of the movie, the whole thing's going to flip and you will overcome this struggle. And in order to overcome this struggle, what movies will tend to show you is a very similar scene, repeated but near the end of the movie. And that scene is the opportunity that the storyteller takes in order to demonstrate to the viewer that everything is different now. Because that scene that they remember at the beginning of the movie is now being repeated again, but your character is behaving in such a way that they've overcome the struggle. And we get to see what that looks like. And so, if the actor were to come back to you and say, listen, I need to portray you after you've overcome this struggle, where you've won, where you've got the happy ending, where you emerge victorious, how should I be then? Now, this too is a good question, because it's not who is playing you, but how they're playing you. And it gives you a chance to think ahead at how you actually want this movie to finish. This movie that in reality, in your life right now, is actually still playing out. So when you get your happy ending, when you emerge victorious, when these scenes that you're living through at the moment repeat at the end of the movie, and we see you having overcome your struggle, how are you then? Now, you might be able to just come up with stuff on the fly, and you might be able to just say to the actor, well, this is how I'd be. This is how I would interact in the exact same scene. These are the ways I would be thinking differently about myself and others. These are the things that I would be doing. But if your mind goes blank, the great thing about having made that first list about how the actor plays you at the start of the movie is that you can simply flip it. You can simply take the opposite of that. So the character that I was talking about in my example earlier on was that my character would never take a compliment. And so we'd see the scene again later on, and you'd see them receiving a compliment really happily. So you just take the opposite. You might see my character in the example I gave earlier on from a few years ago wouldn't put themselves forward for an opportunity. And now you see them at the end of the film and an opportunity comes up and they put their name forward. And so you can see how helpful it is that by simply teaching your actor how to play you at the beginning, you just take each of those lessons and turn it upside down. Take the complete opposite, and that becomes the guide as to how you would be near the end of the movie as well. Now, at this point, you have a guide for your actor, which lets them know how to be you once you've overcome the struggle. The actor now knows how you'd be, how you'd hold yourself, how you'd stand, how you'd walk, how you'd interact with other people, what you'd think about yourself, how that actually manifests in the world. What are the things that you do now that you've overcome the struggle at the end of the movie? And actually, you know, the reason why it's so much more important, not who plays you, but how they play you, is because that list at the end of the movie is actually a really good template for how you can actually start playing yourself. Because what you've just described there is the version of you who has overcome the struggle. So if you want to be the person who accepts the compliment, in my example, well, you can actually be that actor right here, right now. And so the next time that you get a compliment, you can decide to play it the way you told the actor to play it for the end of the movie. Not at the beginning of the movie, which puts you in the struggle, but you can actually start to play yourself as the character at the end of the movie who's actually overcome the struggle. And so if you want to be that character who takes a compliment, well, next time you get one, accept it. Let it land. Let it sink in. Be the version of you that you've just described at the end of the movie. So let's recap. Because I was saying at the start how our childhood game was to try and decide who would play us in a movie of our life. But actually it's more important how we are played. And I spoke as well about any movie is always about a struggle. And so what if the movie of your life was going to be the struggle that you're engaged in right now? And that the starting point of the movie is where you are right now. And then we looked at two things. The first one is being a consultant for your actor, giving them the tips as to how you interact in the world as things are. The things that show that you're in the struggle that you're in. And we saw too that if you simply flip that, turn it upside down, go with the opposite of that, you're actually also describing how your character would be at the end of the movie once you overcome the struggle. Which is great information because once you know that, you already know how to act and how to be in order to move yourself to the place where you are at the end of the movie. And in fact, the person then who plays you in the movie of your life, the actor who you get to play you, is actually you. And you can start doing it right here, right now, because you've already decided what the script looks like by the end of the film. So if you find that useful, please share it with others so they can as well. If you'd like to work with me directly, my name's Alun Parry. You can work with me one-to-one. I'm at liverpoolpsychotherapy.co.uk. But it doesn't matter if you're not local because I work online as well, via video call and telephone. And please subscribe to this podcast as well, because it's completely free and it means you never miss another episode again. So thanks for listening, and I'll be back tomorrow with another one.